Go see your mother. You were only given one. Go see your mother. And you know that you will never have another. Go see your mother. Go see your mom.
Welcome to Jewish Boy Calls His Mother. I know it's been a while. Thank you, listeners, for our patience. We were on vacation, on break. So, hey, Emma, how's it going?
Hey, my sweetness. How are you?
Good, much better. I just needed some time because just like I felt like we were scraping the bottom of the barrel, and I was just getting very tired, and I just wasn't feeling it, and I just was trying to because this is more like a creative space for me. I don't know about you, but for me, it's a creative space where you can't press the create button every 2 seconds. You need some time to decompress, relax, evaluate. And it's just I enjoy what we have. I just was trying to figure out can I do a new angle? Can I try to do, something that just is interest to me? And also asking myself, why am I doing this? Why does it matter? Because I just didn't have the feeling that anybody really cared.
But that's besides the point.
Well, I know, but that's what I was saying.
And you'd be surprised how many people I've met who do like our podcast and told me they find them very entertaining.
I know, I appreciate that. It was more like a family thing, where just I wasn't sure if you cared that much. I wasn't sure if you felt tired. Because for me, I was just I wanted some time to really, take a break, take a step back, and then maybe try to think of something that we can do. And what's funny is I was speaking to someone at work recently, and they were telling me about, she was very strong on the feminist movement and how horrible it was for women back in the day, and how in colleges there was so much sexism. And I was it popped in my head. I'm I don't think you've ever told me about the sexism that you went through in college. And I'm maybe that's a good point. Maybe I can just go ahead and get back on that horse. And that's where it kind of got me to okay, let's just see what's out there. And so I wanted to ask you about, your college years in the 70s.
By the time I was in college, there wasn't too much real sexism. It was really on the way out. People, by that time, when I was in my second year at Towson, Hopkins had opened up their undergrad program to women, and so had Harvard, and so had Yale. I mean, graduate programs in these colleges were always open to women, but it was the undergrad. And so I remember boys from Hopkins, Hopkins would have these parties or whatever, they'd invite the girls from Towson. And I remember a boy saying to me, I don't want to date any of these girls that are coming. And I go, why not? He says, can you imagine what kind of girls are going to be here? Okay, But once the girls came, the boys saw, hey, the girls are girls, regular girls like anybody else. And, people relaxed. There was also, I remember my, there was a kind of as far as opportunities go, well, I remember some of the jobs I worked at. I think I told you this before, that I found out that the boys and some of the fast food places where I was working were getting paid more than the girls. And I asked the manager why, and he said, because they clean the machines. So I said, fine, train me how to clean the machine and pay me the same amount. And he just smiled at me and patted me, very, condescendingly on the shoulder, and walked away. Then there was, before they built the really nice student union, which was very nice. They had when they built the new student union on the campus, it was beautiful. They had a bowling alley, they had billiards, they had silver ball machines. We didn't have video games yet, but they had silver ball machines. And
you mean pinball machines?
Pinball machines, right? Pinball machines.
Do they call them silver ball machines, or you just made that up?
No, I forgot you're right. The real term was pinball.
Okay, just wasn't sure if there was something I wasn't.
The reason I called it silver ball was because I think from the rock opera Tommy.
What?
You know, he played the
I
pinball
see.
machine. They used the term silver ball, I
Pinball
think, in it, whatever.
wizard.
Yeah, pinball.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, and so everything was like opened and it was nice. So girls thought nothing about just going in and playing billiards, and they were accepted. You know, it was like it was open. The space was open. It was nice. So the girls went. Before they built that, though, we had this dingy, dark pool hall that was in the basement of the student social hall. And let's put it this way. They didn't put up a sign saying no girls allowed, but they might as well have.
Mm.
Because I used to notice I never saw any girls playing billiards or shooting pool there. It was all guys, guys, guys. So I thought, wait a minute, I pay my student activity dues like anybody else. I should be able to walk in there and play. So I walked in there to play, and these boys are playing, and they stopped and they looked at me and they go, yeah? And I go, hi, I came here to play pool, to shoot pool. Go, oh, okay. You know, I'm the only girl there. So I picked up the cue, you know, chalked it, and I started playing and playing. And the whole time I'm playing, there's dead silence.
Wow.
Finally, when I finished playing, I won. I start to walk out, and one of the boys calls out, hey, you won. And I turned around and said, thank you, and walked out.
That's really cute. That's awesome.
Then there was the comment at the time from my opera teacher, my voice teacher, and she often remarked to me that, you know, the thing that came up then was about a female president. When are we going to get a female president in this country? United States is the only industrialized nation that's never had a female leader. Especially, this was during the days of Golda Meir. A lot of people were looking at Israel like, well, no, Israel has a female president. You know, this is fantastic. England was ruled by Queen Elizabeth. And then later on, there came Margaret Thatcher at the same time as Queen Elizabeth. So you had, you know, a lot of female leaders. And Indira Gandhi was the head of India, another, you know, female president. My voice teacher said to me, I would be afraid to vote for a female president. I would wonder, what kind of a woman is she? And so I looked, I said, probably a very intelligent one. I said to her, you know, being Jewish, I said to her, look at Golda Meir. You know, I said, but, you know, what would be wrong? I couldn't understand where she was coming from. Like, what would be wrong with a, you know, female president?
Was there any sexual harassment that you went through in college?
Question.
Or at least maybe your friends?
Remember any actual, I remember any real blatant sexual harassment, although there were girls used to talk about some of the professors about, you know, if you would go to bed with him, he'd give you an A. And there was one girl talking about another professor said he would tell you he was going to give you an A if you went to bed with him, but then he wouldn't give it to you. I don't know whether it was true or not, but they were just talking among, you know, I think they were halfway like joking around, you know, with themselves. And then I found out the place though later on where I was working, that behind the deli counter later on, was called Pantry Pride. They're out of business, and they went out of business a long time ago. One of the problems that one of the women said to me, there was a woman that was there for a long time, and she knew the deli counter and knew the workings back and forth, and they never promoted her. Instead, they had these, you know, like women like herself who would be working there for years and years and years, and a new guy would come in and they would promote him right away.
Yeah.
Or they would hire him for a management position, where here was a woman who would have been much better qualified than him. Everyone knew it, and she wasn't promoted. And everybody quietly knew why, because she was a woman. But then after they fired me, I got back at them. I told you I called the federal government on them.
Yeah, you told me about that. You had in the previous episode.
Yeah, I don't get angry.
I get even.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe your ADHD had a lot to do with not noticing sexual harassment signs?
It could be. Maybe guys made comments at me or professors made comments at me and it kind of just went over my head, or I didn't get it, or
Because this was the 70s, Ema. Like, I'm surprised you have like No recollection, nothing at all. Everything was peachy. Not a single bit of sexual harassment in Towson College.
I don't
And you don't remember
Like
it.
I said, no, socially, I was kind of like ADHD and kind of. I'm sure I was on the spectrum. Still am probably. I was one of
No,
those
it
people
changes
where
over years,
I
right?
did not pick up social cues very well,
I think
which worked out to my advantage.
this is a prime example. Like, so imagine going to those professors and you're like, I'm having struggle with this tuba, kind of this musical composition. What's going on? He's like, maybe you can come to my place and we could talk about it. Yeah, but I'm too busy with schedule. Maybe we could talk about it here. Yeah, but I gotta know. Just tell me now. Like, I have things to do. All right, bye. And like, not even.
I think with my ADHD and autism, they probably gave up. They go,
Yeah,
it.
like I don't think like you're not picking up when I'm dropping down. This isn't worth my time. What about when you were a teacher? Was there any sexual like harassment or sexism or no? Or like same thing?
Well,
You
with
didn't notice it.
teaching, most of the teachers were female. There weren't too many female teachers. It was mostly female.
Mm-hmm.
Very female, not too many. Except there was one guy who he used to come around. He was the piano repairman.
Okay.
We had a whole, like, all these 6 electric pianos were like something new, and it was really good. That way you could teach the kids how to play piano in a group.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the one that was hired to come around and fix them. So we were at this conference, and he came over to me, and first he comments to me, he says, I noticed you don't wear too much makeup. I go, no. He goes, some of these women look so made up. He says, I like the way that you have just a little bit of makeup, not too much. And then he says, by the way, what do you do for fun? I go, fun? He goes, yeah, he's a Goisha guy. And by that time I'd become from.
Okay.
And so I wasn't about to date any Goisha guys. So he said, yeah, fun. And I go, excuse me, I see a friend of mine across the room there. I want to go talk to her. And I walked away.
All right. So you have a little bit of something. It's the guy. Well, that's like a casual pickup line. That's not even like too harsh. That's not too bad.
Yeah. I like the Spanish pickup line. Estás perdida, el cielo es muy lejos de aquí, means, are you lost? Heaven is very far from here.
Are you lost? Heaven is very far. That's a cute pickup line, actually.
Yeah, it's a Spanish pickup line, yeah.
When you were traveling, when you were in Italy or when you're going to Switzerland, did you have any other experiences like that when you were there? Being on your own, being a dependent woman, traveling in the 70s.
To do well with Italy, I was with a group, and you had some of these Italian guys that tried to come on to us a little bit,
Hey, oh,
and one of them, it wasn't an Italian guy, but was an African guy from Upper Somaliland who took me out to dinner. He was the one I told you about, that when I told him I didn't have any brothers.
Oh, yeah.
It was like I told him someone had died.
Oh,
so anyway, so after we went out to dinner, he says to me, you come up to my room. And so I thought he meant in college, we had gone to guys' rooms plenty, and we just sat and listened to records and talked, And so I said, I had a cold, I had a horrible cold. I said, sorry, I'm really not feeling well. I got to go to my room. So then the next day I see him coming down the steps, and he says again to me, he says, you come to my room? And I look and I see there's a whole bunch of guys, of African guys, standing all lined up behind him with these big smiles. And I kind of didn't get the hint. I go, no, thank you. We're about to go on a tour this afternoon. And then I found out later it was, good thing I didn't take him up on that.
Yeah, it's funny because you said something that I think is very, very apropos to what you were saying about your ADHD. You said you went to a lot of guys' rooms and all you guys did was listen to records.
Yeah.
Did they do anything else, or they just didn't want to make a move, or like that sounds kind of odd and funny?
We just sat, listened to records, talked.
Yeah, like really, you just sat and listened to records and talked, and nothing happened. You didn't notice anything, and you just got up and walked away. At what time at night? 1 o'clock in the morning?
Well, it wasn't just me. There were a whole group. It was a whole group of boys and girls together. We'd go to some guy's room and just sit there and listen to records and talk. And eat snacks and
okay, because the way you were saying it seemed like you were like, oh yeah, I went to a guy's room, he sat and talked and listened to music, and then I left, and then nothing happened. Like, okay, all right, good luck.
Okay, let's not go there. All right. I think I'd like to. Let's keep this G-rated. But anyway, there were some things I had some ideas that we could discuss for our podcast tonight.
Sure, let's go for
Okay,
it.
one was it's called anthropomorphism.
Mm-hmm.
Means when you give animals and inanimate objects human qualities. Like how many people will call, say, their cars like by names, give things names like cars. Or I've seen like in some movies where people have a shotgun and they pat the shotgun and they call their shotgun good old Betsy.
Okay.
You know, during World War II, what was the atomic bomb called? Big Boy or Fat Boy?
I'm thinking, what was the atomic bomb
And
called?
my father always gave his car names. My father used to call his cars Reginald Archibald III.
Cute. What? By the way, the names for the atomic bombs was Little Boy and Fat Man.
No, how was he? That was the one on Hiroshima was Little Boy.
Little Boy was a uranium-based gun-type weapon dropped on Hiroshima, and Fat Man was more complex plutonium-based implosion device dropped on Nagasaki. The first atomic device ever detonated, however, was a code-named Gadget during the Trinity nuclear test in July 1945. So the Little Boy, Fat Man, and Trinity test. Crazy, right?
Yeah. I saw a documentary about why they called it the Manhattan Project.
Mm-hmm.
Because it started off in Manhattan, and they realized, hey, this is not safe to do this kind of stuff in Manhattan. Let's move it out to Los Alamos, and a nice desert area where there aren't too many people living there.
I'm trying to think. There was something that happened.
Well, my mother, when she was a secretary, and she told me that she was secretary for the Army in Washington.
Yeah.
And one of the women that was working in her office was dating a guy that was on the Enola Gay.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah. So you're talking about anthropomorphic names you give to things. So I think we used to call the car Bluey.
Yes, I would call the car Bluey.
Call Bluey.
Bluey.
Interesting. What other topics do you have? Whatever.
Well, have you ever given any inanimate objects names?
I've nicknamed my
No. We have this, like, it's a G-rated program.
Sure. No, you know what? I never have. I wanted to, though. I thought it was so cool and fun to do. Like, I tried making it work with one of my cars. I forgot what I called it, and it just didn't work. I just couldn't do it. You know, like I couldn't bring myself to like comprehend giving it like a name. Just a car. Like it's just I'm so emotionally detached from things at this point. Like,
it's like when you think about naming animals, there not everybody will name animals. Some people just call them like cat, dog, whatever. Our Spanish teacher told us in high school that in Spanish cultures, it's considered an insult to call your animal like a real human name. That you're supposed to call your animal like some sort of funny name or made up name, or call them idiot or jerk.
Well, it's funny because I think I feel that way. I understand that. I find it kind of frustrating when like you give animals human names.
Well, you gave your animals human names.
No, we can't.
You don't want to talk about your animals?
No, because what happens is there's something called security questions, and security questions are very common to questions like that. So
I see.
It's very hard. That's why it's very hard to talk about different things. You can't give off too much information like that about your like. So, yeah.
Okay.
But it's okay. I understand.
Okay. What cute animals, though? What cute names have you seen for animals? I'm trying to think.
Leopold II.
Who gave their animal Leopold II?
It was a mouse that was given to a snake.
Them out to eat.
Yeah. There is this thing where like you basically write in like your ex's name and these people take this cockroach, like they give a name to a cockroach, and they give the cockroach to like an animal that eats it. You get to watch it get its done. I don't know.
I know my great nieces
Yeah.
have this bearded dragon. And my sister was telling me how my niece has to go to the pet store and buy these roaches to feed to the bearded dragon. And my sister said she was there one time watching the watching the bearded dragon eat the cockroach. It's very interesting to see. I don't know, I've never seen. Well, I did see a cat once catch a mouse outside, but that was all. But I often wondered to myself, oh, I would love. This might sound funny. I would like to see a cat eat a mouse. I don't know why. Maybe there's something sadistic about me.
Well, no, I've seen it. I've seen it.
Some people can't stand it. Like this woman said, oh, she could never stand something like that.
Yeah, I saw that once when I was I think I mentioned this previously, like a while ago. I was mowing the lawn on a Sunday, and I saw this cute little tiny bunny hopping around. So I tried to like shoo it away as I was mowing the lawn, and then I mowed the back lawn. And as I was mowing the back lawn, I saw that the outdoor cat that we kind of took in, so to speak, but kept it outdoors, like pounced on the bunny and started ripping it to shreds and eating its brain.
Oh God! When was this?
Years ago. I think it was in high school.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh yeah. Try to explain. Your sister remembers one time when I don't know if you were born yet or whatever, but she and your older brothers and sisters were little, and they were just sitting out the whole day just watching all this idiotic stuff on television. I couldn't stand it, so I said, "Look, I'm going to put on the educational station, and I want you kids to watch the educational station and learn something useful, instead of watching all these idiotic cartoons." So I put it on, and lo and behold, it showed on the program a ferret stalking a squirrel and eating it. And of course, your brothers, they were literally, they started screaming and go, "Oh, great. Nice work."
You tried, and that's what counts. So what else do you got?
I got those here. Okay. About funny baby names, like people call their babies, or older brothers and sisters call their little brothers and sisters when they're babies or toddlers. Like I remember your aunt calling my younger sister Snooky Wookums.
So just letting you know, that's another private personal information that people can, decipher and take and take out. So just again, like it's very frustrating. That's the other part I was frustrated with when it comes to these episodes, where I was just like, I'm trying to do stuff and think of stuff that we can talk about, but a lot of stuff it's like I can't or shouldn't talk about.
Well, I don't think anyone's going to pick up anything secret from the name Snooky Wookums.
No, I'm talking about in general speaking, but yes, you do have a point.
It's funny how people do that.
Snooky Wookums?
Snooky Wookums, yeah. I don't know why. And then your older sister, when one of your younger sisters was born, called her, what did she call him? Okie Kenobi.
Okie Kenobi?
Okie Kenobi. I don't know why. I don't know where she picked it up from, but she called her Okie Kenobi.
Interesting. All right. See how these topics like kind of have a standstill? It's not elaborate.
Okay, so let's go into another one.
Okay, what you got?
Okay, something that jolted my memory.
Okay.
I remember when I was in college that at that time, you talk about not sexual harassment, but men until fairly recently were very careful not about how they spoke in front of women. I was in a gas station once, and this man came in very angry, and he started to use the F word and cursed. He was very angry at something that the mechanics there had done. And so the mechanic, the person, the manager of the gas station was standing behind the counter and said to him, "Hey," he said, "watch your language. There's a lady sitting there." I was sitting there waiting for my car. And so the guy turns around and looks at me, and he says to the manager, "I don't know. I think even women have to learn to grow up and deal with the world."
It's so funny you say that, because I was working with some people, and like I was, okay, I was, rough around the edges. I was saying a bunch of stuff, but like it was weird. I started cursing, and the older guys were like, "There's a woman present. What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, this is weird." I'm
Do
like,
men still do that? Huh?
men still old school guys.
Uh-huh.
Old school guys, yes, they definitely still do that. That's for sure. It's just it's funny because I grew up obviously with sisters and everyone doing like saying whatever like came to their mind, and not really having this, I guess protectiveness of trying to be protective towards women with how they spoke. But as I started doing it more, it made me more conscientious around women, not like because they're dainty and weak. It's more like just have respect for, having some decorum. Because yeah, men were animals who crave young flesh, but when it comes to like being around women, there's certain decorum you should have, and it taught me how to have better decorum, around women.
Oh, now I remember. It wasn't Okie Kenobi. It was Ben Kenobi. I don't know why she called her that.
Wow, that's weird.
She called her Ben Kenobi. But I often felt that I said to somebody once that, when Hashem created mankind, whatever, he said that it's like that he created the inanimate and then he created the animals. Next came man, and after that came woman. That Hashem was going like to each thing that he created had a higher spiritual awareness. So I said, so women are up here, they have the highest spiritual awareness. I said, men are a intermediary between animals and women.
Very cute. Har har har. I don't know. Sounds kind of dumb. See how we keep on talking and falling into a corner. So I'm trying to avoid that. I'm trying to see if we can avoid falling into a corner and having more open, I guess, open-ended questions.
Let's discuss more about men being animals.
Well, just like similar to how I asked that sexual harassment in the 70s, and like it's a very elaborate, like I was able to go on and we talked for like literally 15 minutes about something. Like it's just, I think I'm going to be more open and honest and talk about the episode as the episode's happening, because I think it gives it more of like, watching how the hot dog got made, but some people enjoy it.
That's a good question. How did the hot dog get made?
No, it's like, it's that phrase, you know what I mean? It's like,
no, I never heard that.
Oh yeah, there's an old phrase called "You don't want to know how the hot dog got made." It's hints to you want to kind of keep it a little bit of a mystery and a little more of an interest.
It's like they say when you go to a restaurant, never walk into the kitchen.
Yeah. So there was a lot of it where I in the episodes I would try to not have conversations with you about the episode or about the podcast or what I'm trying to do, because I wanted to give it like a layer of like, mystery. But I think also maybe we'll switch it up a little bit, and I'll just be talking to you on the episode about, about the podcast, about what we're trying to do.
I just thought of another thing I'd like to talk about.
Sure. And let's see how long this lasts.
The funny thing is, there were a lot of movies when I was growing up that I couldn't see because, the parents thought that, it's not good for children, or they were too expensive. If the movie was too expensive, my father would always say to us, you'll wait till it comes to television. And so now, for some reason, I've got a little more time now, And so this past summer, I've been catching up on old movies that I never had a chance to see. And some interesting, some not. One movie that I watched, which I was very disappointed in, was The Misfits with Clark Gable and Marilyn Monroe. And when I was looking at the credits before the movie and the history of it, Marilyn Monroe at the time was married to Arthur Miller. Arthur Miller was one of the foremost playwrights of the 20th century. And I was watching this movie, I thought, Arthur Miller, how could Arthur Miller have just bombed out? Then I remembered as I'm watching this movie, you figure Clark Gable, Marilyn Monroe, Eli Wallach, a young Eli Wallach.
Wow, Eli Wallach?
Eli Wallach, when he was, was a young supporting actor at the time. There was a woman, I forgot her name, but she had received Academy Awards for being best supporting actress. She'd been in a lot of movies as supporting actresses. She was never like one of these big stars, but she was one of these faces that you saw in a lot of supporting roles in a lot of movies and television shows at the time. You never knew her name.
Yeah.
And so you figured, and with Arthur Miller as the writer, this is going to be a fantastic movie. It was miserable. And I mean, it had the potential. It was one of these movies that had the potential for being a very interesting movie. And what can I say? Everyone just dropped the ball. Clark Gable, the role he played was so flat that it was,
How flat was it?
The whole movie, he's doing nothing but smiling practically and just telling Marilyn Monroe what a nice woman she is and how a pretty woman, every other line, you're so pretty, you're so sweet, you're so nice, and smiling and smiling and smiling. And I go, God, I said, Clark Gable, my God, what did Arthur Miller do to him? The only time he looked fairly human was the very last scene when he's trying to catch. It's the whole thing. He's trying. He and Eli Wallach have this business in Reno, Nevada, where they capture these wild horses and they sell them to either glue factories or dog food factories. And Marilyn Monroe, this was Arthur Miller had a chance, and they were married. By the way, shortly after the movie, they got divorced. Not hard to see why. She probably was mad at him the way he wrote her up in the movie. But here was a chance where Marilyn Monroe could have very well been this would have been her time to show everybody what a very excellent, serious actress she could be. And all Arthur Miller did to her was put her out there as a sex symbol. Half of the movie, well, it's about the premise of the whole thing. The reason it's called The Misfits. All the actors and actresses in this movie, the main people, are people who very sadly have totally failed at life. And Marilyn Monroe starts out as a woman. Excuse me, Kat, do you mind? Thank you. See, notice I called her Kat. I can call her by a human name.
Yeah, exactly.
So Marilyn Monroe is in Reno, Nevada to get a quickie divorce. In those days, there were many states, especially along the East Coast, whose divorce laws were very antiquated, especially in Maryland and New York. You could only get a divorce if you could prove adultery. So what many people did was in Reno, Nevada, if you were a resident of Reno, Nevada, you could get a very quick divorce in a matter of weeks. So many people from the East Coast would go out to Reno, Nevada. A cousin of mine did that, as a matter of fact, when she was divorcing her husband. And you could be a resident there in a matter of just 3 weeks and get your divorce just like that. They had like no fault divorce type thing, which is, what they have now, but in those days they didn't. So Marilyn Monroe is this young woman who, she's in Reno, Nevada. She's getting this quickie divorce, and she meets Clark Gable, and he invites her to, why don't you, instead of running back to the East Coast, why don't you stay in Nevada, and I'll show you around, and you get to see a little bit of another part of the country. So she says, okay. And so Clark Gable, of course, is a loser. He divorced many, many years ago, and he's got 2 children who have virtually nothing to do with him. It's like, everyone in the movie, it's a very, very slow moving, how can I say, flat movie. Half of the movie, Marilyn Monroe is doing nothing but trying to keep her dress up. She's wearing these tight, very low cut dresses with straps. Half the movie, she's going like this to keep her dress on herself. I thought, I remember when the movie came out, my father even commenting about it, saying, lousy movie that was. It was like one of these movies where, such potential. You've got these great actors and actresses. You've got this fantastic playwright, screenwriter, and it just, Arthur Miller really, was a big disappointment to a lot of people.
It's funny. I'm looking at the reception, and it was a box office disappointment. But then they reevaluated it and gave it a positive reevaluation as a significant American drama, with Rotten Tomatoes giving it 97%. So I guess maybe it aged well. Maybe if you watch it again, that'd be an interesting take. Watching a movie a second time and changing your opinion on it.
Yeah, I've had that. when I was movies I saw when I was say in high school, and then years later saw it again as a an adult working person. I remember when The Graduate came to television,
Mm-hmm.
and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think I had already graduated college. I think it was my first year working as a teacher. I remember a lot of the people saying, "What did we ever see in that movie?" Because everyone, when it first came out in high school, the young people like, yeah, they thought it was a really great movie. And then when it came out years later, when most of the young people who thought that it was such a fantastic movie saw it again, it was like, what did we ever see in that movie?
Yeah, it's funny because like when I was a kid, I would watch these movies as cartoons or whatnot, and I loved it, and it was just like amazing. And then I go ahead and check like reviews, like Rotten Tomatoes, 20%, reviews, awful, box office bomb, lost so much money. Like when I was a kid, I really, really liked watching. It was this movie with Sean Connery. It was about these different. I'm trying to figure. I think it was the last movie he actually filmed in. It was this movie about like this like different characters from different classic horror like books, and like they all get together. Like they have the Invisible Man. They have all sorts of things. I'm just trying to remember what it was. But I remember watching as a kid and loving it, and they left it on a cliffhanger, being like, "Oh, they're gonna come back and redo things, or they're gonna continue on with the story." And I was just so excited. And then I find out later on that like it actually was a terrible, terrible movie, and it was just like bombed, and no one ever liked it. Yeah, here it is, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. It was his final role in theatrical release live action film before his retirement in 2006. So this came out in 2003. And I loved it. I thought it was so cool and so much fun and so exciting. And then I checked it out recently, and it's like Rotten Tomatoes gave it 16%. It got 4 out of 10. It gave it generally unfavorable reviews. Cinema Score gave it a B- from an A+ to F. And then Roger Ebert gave it 1 out of 4 stars. And then Rolling Stones gave it 1 out of 4 stars as well. And then another E-Weekly gave it a C-. And then, it's like I thought it was really cool, a lot of fun. And it's just so funny where you look back and it's just like, whoa, it's weird how your perspective changed. Or I still think it's an awesome movie. I have to watch it again. See, maybe it changed, but I loved it.
It reminds me of when we were kids, and my sisters and I, we saw like these scary movies like, Blood of Dracula or Werewolf of London, and how we were screaming and hiding behind the blankets or ducking behind the seats. And of course, as an adult, you see these movies now and you just crack up laughing. You can see the plastic and the, all the artificial stuff, and you just laugh, and it's like, what?
Yeah, it's like, or like you're watching one of those movies where like they had graphics at the time. You're like, oh my God, that's so crazy, that's nuts. And then like you look back at it later on, like, oh, that was terrible. That was absolutely terrible.
Well, one movie I saw a couple of days ago is it's really worth seeing. It's a real classic. It was Orson Welles.
What's it called?
Colbert. It was made in 1946. It takes place in Baltimore in 1939.
Okay, what's it called?
It was called Tomorrow is Forever.
Okay, Tomorrow is
Gotta
Forever.
watch it. It's a very touching movie. It's a real class, a very, very human. It's a very touching human movie. Very good movie. Yeah, I would recommend anyone watch. I'm not going to spoil it, but I would recommend watching it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Especially Orson Welles. Then there was one. I finally saw The Apartment. I've been waiting years to see that one.
That's another episode of Jewish Boy Calls His Mother. Thanks for listening to us kvetch, reminisce, and of course, get a little motherly advice along the way. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your favorite Jewish mother or anyone who needs a little guilt in their life. Got a story, question, or just want to say hi? Send us a message. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, call your mother. She worries.